Hello and welcome to this Eyes of Harmony first thoughts on the Saranga Conundrum, which is episode 5 of the most recent series of Doctor Who.
Is it? I thought it was from an old one. What?
This is 3 years old already.
Well, in fairness, the episode in some ways feels like that, but no, considering better effect than it did last week.
Yeah.
Because this is very much a base under siege kind of episode.
It's weird.
I enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't groundbreaking, but it was a solid action-packed episode of Doctor Who. That's all we kind of need, really.
I don't know, I'd say I was actually quite underwhelmed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. I felt it just. The issue was there was too many characters, so the android didn't need to be in there like that.
Well, it wasn't really meant to be a big part of it, really.
But it was just like then some screen time was given to him. Like it was
just a bit.
I felt like the brother sister thing worked fine. The thing with the the brother and the android having that kind of thing, it didn't need to be in there. They could have just had him and the doctor, not the doctor, but like the doctors in it. They could have been the ones who could have been like, it's none of your business. Confidentiality. What Astos and Mobile were the two like nurses.
Well, in some ways you could say that about a lot of stories.
I just felt there was a few too many characters, and but yeah.
Compared to some stories, even some really good ones, the supporting cast is actually fairly low, especially considering they kill one off like right at the start.
I
really.
saw that coming as soon as it was in an escape pod.
Yeah.
I was like, there we go. But I liked it.
Actually,
it was still good. That was a good moment.
I'm surprised there weren't more deaths, really.
Yeah, see, that's one of my issues. Like, I was expecting. That's the problem when you make the monster this cute little. It was cute. Like, it wasn't. It kind of reminded me of like a Stitch, from Lilo and Stitch. That's what it reminded me of.
It gave me a similar effect to kind of what they did with the adipose.
Yeah.
Really. So, a monster doesn't necessarily have to look threatening to be threatening. This wasn't a huge, terrifying monster. It was a bit more of a... I guess the effect you get from a chihuahua, kind of.
Yeah.
It barks at you and you get a little startled or whatnot. In terms of how it looks, but the important thing here was that its tiny design and its features made it kind of a perfect fit for somewhat of a... kind of more of a, not necessarily a full-on, like, head-first attacking creature, but more of a, tear things apart creature. Its design fit what the story was wanting it to do. So, I appreciated it for that.
I just like, to me it was just a bit too powerful. Like, if you put that up against a Dalek...
It wouldn't work because it was talking about the poisonous skin and whatnot affecting. Well, I guess lasers.
The P-Tings.
Well, no. It wants energy. That's the thing. So a Dalek's laser blast would more or less put it out of action, basically, because that's all it'd need.
But the entire machine has energy. That's how it powers it. So
yeah.
And was that, I guess, okay, so the P-Tings only go after energy.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised that the P-Ting has never gone after, say, something like the TARDIS, or,
well,
it's just
clearly...
weird. It's weird at this point. Like, there was so much information on them, which made it sound like there's so many of them, and yet the Doctor's never really come across them or ever heard of them.
They never said there was that many of them. They just said, they got... information, presumably there's been a few big events, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's a lot of them. That just means there's a few of them floating about in space getting the odd ship. It's...
I don't know, it just also the name P-Ting kind of just made it really unthreatening. I think a better name might have helped.
Yeah. Well, again, it's less about the actual design of the creature. In fact, you don't see the creature for most of it. It's more about what it's doing. It's just
Yeah, I know.
and the threat of the ship, and you feel how the ship goes from and slowly gets worse and worse as the episode goes on and gets more and more tense. I enjoyed that aspect of the episode. It does keep up the, I guess, the adrenaline. It keeps it interesting. There's always, something's going worse as it goes along. Yeah, there's another issue with the ship, or he's gotten further and now he's taken out the main power or whatnot. It kept itself interesting enough.
I don't know. I kind of I'm just gonna do two more things I didn't like, and I'm gonna go on to the things I did like, because there were things I liked, but I think the issue was like the negatives weirdly stuck in my head more.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you kind of. I guess if you're not so into an episode, that was me last week. I think.
Yeah. So Astos, his death was a bit. I don't know. It felt kind of wooden. Like, I don't know. It was weird. Like how it's randomly giving this other nurse like such a weird morale thing. Like you're about to die, and that's his first kind of. I don't know. To me, it just felt. His performance just felt a bit off. It was like he wasn't panicked enough. Like he was, it didn't feel brave. It was I don't know.
He was mildly concerned and stumbled into a room when he was told not to and got himself killed.
And he was like, "Oh, damn it!" Yeah. Like whoops. It's like if you want to look at a real reaction, a kind of brave death. It's there's one in Torchwood. I know I haven't watched it yet, but there's a moment where the guy actually, like one of a character, there's an actual proper moment. They get caught somewhere and they realise that they're kind of screwed, and they have a real moment kind of thing. And like I don't know, there's that.
I think the thing about the guy, though, I would say, is that he's not really supposed to be important. The purpose of him was to have a command. He was a commanding guy there, and he had a trainee on him. The purpose of the episode was to bring that trainee to the forefront and take away, basically, just
take away the other leader because he was kind of bossing the doctor around.
Just cut the rope.
Oh, I was fine. I was fine with him dying. I was fine with him dying. It was just it felt weird, the performance, like just in itself, like just the I don't know.
I can see that.
And then there was the only other thing I didn't really like was also when Jodie was acting in pain at the beginning. I don't know, it was a bit like she just kept saying, "Oh, my kidney," like, "Oh, this really hurts. Oh, I'm not." It's like, okay, we get it. You're still injured, like, but it was like really, I don't know. It felt really kind of over the top, like no one else was that injured. Why was the doctor more injured?
Well, because the doctor was running about doing stuff, But the others were sitting down in the hospital room.
No, but they were following her and stuff. I don't know. It's like she's got the more superior biological body, so I don't know. To me, it was just it jumped out at me like when it was like the fifth.
I can see that.
The fifth. Oh my kid! It's like okay, you're in pain. Like just you can do it with a look,
Yeah, no, I can see that.
But,
I can see that. But yeah, no, I think I'll get on to my biggest problem though with the episode. As I said, I genuinely enjoy it, but I think it's just and especially compared to previous weeks, the companions here are completely and utterly useless. Like it's only the doctor that's doing stuff here. Yaz is standing in the room for a considerable chunk of it and kicks the thing, I guess. And Graham and Ryan get even less, which is as a praise as being a more interesting plot. Doesn't get too much here in itself, and they don't really do. The episode wouldn't change that much if it was just the doctor being teleported off or something. Really, they don't really serve much of a purpose here. Even compared to I know you criticise the support of some of the there being too many supporting characters. I actually think I like new characters introduced enough, but as I said, that came at the cost for me of them not doing anything with the companions. Yeah, they really did drop to the background. Yazdu hasn't done anything.
I know. Well, it's like
it's
well, they had the nice moment about Ryan's mum and dad. That was alright, and I did actually really like the pregnant guy. That was something I really enjoyed. That was that story thread, that line was really good, and how Ryan was kind of coping with his own dad struggles through this guy.
Yeah, though the dad struggles thing wasn't. I mean, it's nice, but that also could have happened in any episode, though. That didn't.
Yeah.
You know, I think in other episodes they've integrated it into the plot at hand. Well, they kind of did here, but it's like kind of much more of a minor thing, I guess. It just doesn't stick out to me quite as much. You know, what they did with it here could have been done more or less in any episode, really. So it doesn't, you know, and we don't get as much substantial growth as we have in some of the previous episodes. I guess you don't necessarily need to in every episode for a set episode series, but you know, yeah, I mean. But in terms of the actual plot of the episode, they really don't serve much of a purpose, really. You know, I almost wish they went full on midnight here and just didn't have the companions.
That was what.
Because this is kind of the vibe I get from the episode in a lot of ways. Only we see, of course, the villain and whatnot, but you know, less of the whole psychological crazy thing. But in terms of the premise, it's not too dissimilar. I know you wouldn't want it to necessarily copy it, but I mean, they could have gone full on Dr. Light, and as I said, it wouldn't have actually changed the plot all that much, really.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I thought the opening was cool though. Good opening shot where they're all looking for something. Like, when the Sonic. But there was a good moment when the Doctor was so concerned about finding the TARDIS instead of actually caring about, you know, the ill people on board.
Absolutely.
And then Doctor realised, you know, she was wrong, that was a good moment. It makes the Doctor more, you know, grounded, realistic.
Yeah.
Makes mistakes.
I mean, there've been moments like that in the past. It's not that out of character.
Well, I just don't mean like...
different.
They didn't do many of those moments, I think, in the Matt Smith or Capaldi era.
I guess so, yeah. David Tennant did it a lot.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I've been feeling with the whole Jodie's portrayal. It's been very David Tennant. It really has been.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't mind that. It's fine. It's just, you know, I was kind of expecting something very out there, but no, it's feeling like that's more of a David Tennant archetype in terms of her personality. But as I said, I'm fine with that. I like David Tennant's era, and I'm perfectly fine getting more kind of Doctor moments like that. So, you know, I'm content.
In my opinion, this week was played quite safe, I think. I don't think they took any major risks.
Yeah, but they haven't for the past 2 weeks. But I felt this one did what it set out to do considerably better than last week. Last week was kind of forgettable, kind of boring, kind of cookie cutter. This one, you know, I mean, it's not, as I said, it's not the greatest story ever, but there was an intensity to it. There was a sense of urgency. You know, I liked enough of the characters and the plots that were going on with it. You know, the Doctor, as I said, gets the most screen time, of course, and you know, very much, well, more than usual, I'd say, even. But you know, I enjoy it. I mean, again, it's nothing groundbreaking, it's nothing special, but, you know, when it comes to playing it safe, compared to last week's, you know, slightly boring wander around, this week, you know, was about solving, you know, what seemed to be an unsolvable problem on the fly, and, you know, for me, that just the way it was done, it just kept itself interesting. Again, it's not amazing.
The thing is because they made it so impossible, I knew it was just going to get blown out into space. That was the thing I knew, because it's like it's like Alien, like it's just Alien the film. I just knew that it was like, well, you know, they can't kill it, so they're just gonna have to put it back in space.
The
Like,
the Doctor immediately says that though, like, well, not long after when she's talking to the
she says she wants to
I
get it
don't
off
remember
a
the character.
ship. But even
Yeah,
before
no, that
that,
she was talking about it, like, and she was saying, "Oh, well, where do I see it going? You know, where what I have to see it, see where it ends up, and to think in order to think of the solution, I see it out in space, and then she just needs to figure out the solution. I mean, she says that from the beginning. That's the entire purpose. You can't destroy it, so get it out into space. So you know, the interesting part comes from how to do that. The conclusion was obvious, but how do we get to that point?
but the thing is, then I knew it would just be in an airlock, and it would just be getting it to get, manage to find what it wants, put it in the airlock, and then just blow it out. It's like, to
Yeah, but
me,
using the bomb was kind of interesting to get to that point.
uh, I guess, but can they have just put any energy source? Oh no, I guess it was looking for the big energy source. So the bomb
Exactly.
attracted it.
The bomb is the biggest energy source
Yeah,
on.
that's fair. But yeah, I don't know. Just to me, I just felt like, based on the siege, it's just been done better before. I feel like the reason though is because this has been, Chibnall's kind of fifth story in a row, depending on how much he worked on Rosa. Um, yeah, but now
This felt
for the next 4 weeks are all guest writers. So now I'm kind of hoping it picks up in freshness. Um,
you know
yeah.
I guess part of the reason why I might like this so much is like it better, I guess. I've been kind of, well, in terms of my DVD watching, I've been kind of going through the Tom Baker era, so actually this kind of feels kind of in line with that, even down to ship design. Like, this is it. Yeah, I watched Stones of Blood recently. The ship design's like so
Mm.
close to that, like in terms of how the white and
That's the thing. I just think the Tom Baker era did this story better.
it did.
It's done these
No,
stories better.
no doubt. But it's also been seeing it in this kind of production level.
It's nice though, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, what you can do with modern technology in terms of, I mean, the stories themselves were better in the old stuff, of course, in terms of Tom Baker's era, but at the same time, there's very much advantages to what they do now. How they can show properly without having to just shake the camera. The ship getting weaker and weaker, losing power. There was some cool stuff. The Doctor getting really infused about explaining the whole about
Oh,
the
I love
energy
that.
and
The anti, yeah, the
yeah, just the Doctor getting infused about
that
stuff
was a
like
nice
that.
moment. It's to me there was lots of nice moments, but I don't know. I just never. I wanted to be, but I just was never that invested because I kind of,
Hmm.
even from the offset, as soon as the creature arrived and it was this unstoppable force. I know that the Doctor said, "Oh, that we're going to do this," but the issue is Doctor Who. We know that they're going to come out at the end all right, the main companions.
But you
So
can say that about every episode,
yeah,
though.
I know, but there's been episodes where I've been more like, "Wow, how are they going to stop it?" Like, how are they gonna, like, for example, the woman who fell to Earth? We didn't know that she'd taken out the bombs and put it into the thing until he'd already set them off, and then they were kind of, go like dying.
Hmm.
You know, that was fine because we knew that the bombs were going to be integral, but we didn't know how she'd solved it. But the issue is when you're in space and you have to get it back out into space, the only thing is opening an airlock and sending it out. Like, it's kind of, I don't know. To me, it's just, I don't know. It's just very much alien, and I don't know. I kind of, I think the issue was when I heard it was a base under siege, I was expecting something like Midnight, and I didn't get that. So I think that's the issue.
I
Um,
hadn't really read up on the story beforehand, so maybe I didn't have any expectations going into this at all. So
my only expectation was base under siege, and then yeah, as soon as I saw the monster, I was like, interesting. Is it like a baby of a bigger thing? And I don't know. To me, it reminded me of one of the goblins from Spiderwick Chronicles. If you've seen that film,
I haven't.
Okay, well, yeah. I don't know. It just I liked it, but the issue is they made this. It was so powerful, and it just had such a dumb name, Pating. Like, like it. If people are scared of this thing, which can destroy entire armies and battleships, who decides to name it a Pating?
Alien naming conventions, and they clearly established in the episode that
What,
it's very different to
avocado?
ours. Yeah, avocado, and saying those like Ryan and Graham are dumb. Very different, interpretation of what makes a name good or threatening. But Ting can be terrifying. A really threatening name to those out in space, but not necessarily to us. It's just different
But
perspectives.
the issue is we're the audience who are actually taking in it. In the this isn't.
It is, but we're also dealing with alien stuff, so it makes sense. Not everything's gonna, be understood like it is on Earth, even if they look human.
I don't know. I think it still could have just had maybe just Ting. Just I don't know.
Ting.
I don't like the name. I just can't do with it. I read the way they came up with it. It's just there was some guy called I can't remember. What was it? Tim Price on the writing team, so they just made Pating. Was created and named after the writer Tim Price, who worked in the stories room early in the series development. Brilliant and unusual name for the alien. Doctor Who magazine team loved it. Well, they're wrong. It's awful.
I don't mind. I mean, I get it.
There was also one moment where the music really weirdly didn't fit. I can't remember, but I just remember seeing Jodie's face, and then it was like the music became quite intrusive. Where I've got used to it kind of being in the background. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't remember any of the music still. I just can't pick any of it out. It's just Maury Gold spoiled us. He really did.
So that's it. I love the Doctor Who music. Now we've got
It's just so much. It's a movie score. It's not Doctor Who score. It's a movie. They've
become Marvel Marvel film scores are really dull actually. Like the only one of any note recently really was Infinity War, which actually had a pretty decent score all the way through.
Didn't Homecoming?
Homecoming had a decent theme, but it didn't if you just listen to the scores, they all there's not one that really sticks in your head. The main theme, the da 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 da, like that one. The main theme sticks in it. Same with the Ant-Man main theme,
also the remix they did for the 60s Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, that's stuck in my head. But that's the classic TV show theme, really.
Well, of course, but the fact that they actually decided to put it in as a score, they didn't have to.
But it's I really have to think about Thor's theme or Iron Man's theme to even be able to kind of think about it. I can remember bits of the Civil War bit, like the da 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 da. There's things that stick out, but so far the only theme that stuck out that I can kind of relatively remember is Rosa's theme.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's kind of, I don't know, I love the music in Doctor Who, and now I feel
of course the title, the new title theme.
I love a new title theme, yeah. But I don't know, I just feel like Doctor Who used to be strive on its music.
Murray Gold spoiled us. He and we kind of took him for granted at points. Although he was done. It's fine. He decided to move on. He was done with the series. You could tell by the end that he was
getting a bit tired.
A little bit creatively stuck, I guess.
Yeah,
I think's the word. He's a great composer, but after you've worked the show for as long as he did, you're bound to kind of run out of steam and creative new ideas and whatnot. Because I don't think he'd written too many good themes since basically probably the 12 Doctors theme is probably the last real standout thing he did.
No, the Shepherd's Tale, which was the Da, 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 when he's breaking through the wall.
Oh yeah,
Da,
yeah, that's
da,
true.
da. And what the Doctor regenerates to ultimately.
That too. That
It was a
too.
very good piece of music, that one.
Yeah, but you know,
I
like
love Bill's theme. Bill's theme was really good.
I don't remember that.
Oh,
Maybe I would probably will if I, listen to it.
it's a very good theme.
But yeah, the point is, it, I just not really digging the whole background mood setting stuff because you just don't remember any of it. It's just not as. It's like borderline. Why bother? you know.
Yeah.
At this point, we could basically just go with ambient noises and we get the same effect. Or back to the old 60s synth and random sporadic noises.
It's interesting because at the moment I'm doing, or just finished an essay about aesthetics in music and how it controls our mood. And like things that use motifs and themes and stuff, but so far, like, I haven't felt that. Like, the use of instruments, like, there's not many aesthetic attributes to give you these responses. So aesthetic attributes is like the key, the instruments used, the tempo, the melody, all these things that could give you like an emotional reaction and make you decide if you like it or not. And yeah, like I don't know. I just nothing's really stood out. There's been no villain theme which has stood out. No, a good. I don't even know what the Doctor's theme sounds like, to be honest.
Does the Doctor even have a theme?
Apparently, she does, and it kind of played when she was making the Sonic. Apparently, according to the composer. So here we go.
Oh, this says it all that we don't remember it.
I mean,
or I can't pick it out.
Like I Am the Doctor was played way too much in the series, but I still kind of preferred having it in there. It just added. I know.
I think they did it much better with Capaldi in that his theme had so much to it, and it was a long piece, so that they could play different parts of it for different scenarios, as opposed to Matt Smith's, which had the same, beats throughout, which kind of made it repetitive. Because you did hear the different varieties of it throughout the series, but it was all the same theme. With Capaldi's theme, it was so long and so varied that you could pick a different part of a theme, and it'd be like create a different mood and not sound samey to it. So they fixed that issue. They really fixed that issue later on.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate Capaldi's theme for that. And I just like the theme in general.
It is a good theme. So how would you rank the series so far?
Well, probably still Rose on top. Woman Who Fell to Earth. This. Then Arachnids, then Ghost Monument.
Yeah, I would probably agree. This one probably has more rewatchability over Arachnids. I don't know. I think the issue is we've just had too many Chris Chibnall episodes in a row.
Well, that's the inherent issue. Like, I think I said this even before, when we were talking about the first episode, and you were saying, like, about how, he's writing the next episode and the episode after that. It's just like, we had this exact problem with Stephen Moffat. A writer's gonna get...
You get too used to it. It doesn't bring anything
Well,
fresh
when you got too many scripts at once, you're not gonna put your full effort into all of them. Your mind's spread out.
One's gonna slip.
Not... Yeah, it's better to write fewer, more solid episodes than to write a huge bunch of, mediocre ones. I mean, generally the quality of the series remained pretty good. Generally, but I think we have started to see, some of that. Basically, you need more writers than this. Like,
Well, the next 4 weeks are all guest writers, and then Chris Chibnall for the finale.
Yeah.
And episode 7 title's been released just as we've been talking. Kablam.
That sounds like a 90s game show.
Kablam.
I wouldn't be surprised if it actually was.
And be interesting.
There's something like that. Hang on.
Well, it's Kablam with an exclamation mark. Oh, the Witchfinders has been moved.
Oh, there was. Hang on. No, it was a 4-season Nickelodeon show with some very bizarre. What is this art style? What is this art style?
I'm not sure.
1996 to 2000.
I'm not sure that's what the episode is going to be based on.
Are you sure?
So
look at these things. What the heck is this?
So, Witchfinders has moved from episode 8, from episode 9 to 8. So I guess that's gone back because I think we discussed earlier that it was going to be before the finale, but okay, it's moved back. That's interesting. Yeah. And then okay, cool.
So yeah, not necessarily.
They
kind of separate the episodes out. So like we've had a gap now. The first few episodes have been kind of in the chronological order, and now they've kind of they've introduced gaps to the series.
Yeah, between arachnids and here, there's been a gap.
And supposedly, if they're changing the series around at this point, then clearly that will continue for the other few episodes, presumably.
Yeah, well, I mean, we never saw them get back to the TARDIS. Which was something.
But they probably will. I mean, I think they've got to be gaps so they could,
extra.
I mean, we had this issue last series, for like the CDs and your novels and whatnot. You need, you do need to have these gaps somewhere.
Well, next week's is a historical.
Nice.
And hopefully Az gets a bit more to do.
Probably not.
Well, it's about her grandma, so I'm hoping Brian and Graham take a bit of a back foot. The series arc, which is maybe not an arc, about the timeless child, like, was that an arc? It's not been mentioned since.
I don't know. I think at this point
neither has Tim Shaw.
Yeah, I didn't take it too much seriously even initially, but it was
just weird to mention the Stenza 2 weeks in a row and then suddenly they're all gone.
I mean, they could be building up something for the finale, or maybe they're not. I guess we shall see, later on.
If they're building up, they need to mention soon.
Oh. My mum's just handed me a card, and it says, I think it was the worst Dot 2 episode I have ever seen. Literally.
Well, there we go. Conrad's mum says it all.
Okay.
I think, I just came underwhelmed from it. And I think your mum probably probably kind of got the same feeling from it. I just thought I don't know. I like the villain, but it was in the wrong setting. Like, that villain doesn't fit in a base under siege. It fits more in something else. I don't know. I feel like the villain had so much potential, but not in that setting. It was like putting like the Slovene in Blink. Like, it doesn't it doesn't work. Like,
I don't think it's quite that extreme.
No, but I just felt like, I don't know. Or then the design was wrong to fit with the story. And also I thought the lighting was a bit bland. That might be something actually in this episode. It was all very.
I mean, it's certainly not as striking as the earlier episodes, but I didn't necessarily take issue with it.
It was just very flat. I mean, like when it was like all breaking apart, they could have they played a bit more around with like the red lights and blue lights and stuff. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of It's kind of I don't really have much to say on top of what your mum just handed you.
It was the worst episode ever.
Ever? Wow,
Yeah.
that is harsh. I
Well, no, you just said that she's never seen, so
Fair enough.
I
Can
mean,
only go
I
up
don't know.
next week. Jamie Chard's directing again.
You'd hope, at least.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. Actually, I might place Arachnids in the UK above this one. For me, I felt like Arachnids had just a bit more that I enjoyed from it. I don't know. I feel there's something. There's something missing in this series so far, and I'm not sure what it is yet.
Well, on the first point, you know, I mean, for me, I think it is more. When I think of this story, I think of some sort of exciting, like, you know, the bass, you know, rocking and, you know, exploding. When I think of arachnids, I just think of walking around, just in dim lit corridors. You know, it's just.
I found the spiders
I
freaked
can't
me
even.
though. Like I had an emotional
Yeah,
response to it. I was like, oh, they're disgusting. You know, like
I
it
can
made
understand
me.
it a bit more in that case. So.
And that's the thing. I don't know. There was just nothing.
I guess yeah. Again, for me, I just saw them as cheap CG spiders. I don't have a spider. I don't. And yeah, I'm not creeped out by spiders at all. So you know, it just did nothing for me.
Yeah,
But if you have a bit more of a fear of spiders, I guess I can understand it more.
it's just this. I don't know. I just Face Under Siege works if you do dark lighting and you don't reveal the creature too early on. It would have been better if they built it up that it was this big menacing thing or something, and then
I
that.
mean, they did a bit. They did a bit.
I don't know. I thought they showed their hand too soon. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I feel there's just something missing from this series, and I don't know what it is. Don't know what it is yet.
um, I guess. Yeah.
There's just I can't
I do. I
put
do.
my finger on it yet.
I agree because I felt, especially like last season, I felt considerably more fulfilled and more excited for every new episode than I have been for this series. I have to agree there. You know, it's not wowed me,
Mm.
I guess. Like I said, I loved last series and I was consistently excited to go for the next episode. You know, it just felt like everything just worked and clicked into pace for that. You know, especially for the first half of the last series.
Yeah.
And then this one just. I guess. I said it before, you know, they really have tried to go back to the beginning, but they made it so much more talky. And in some ways it's good, but in other ways it's kind of made it just not quite as exciting or as interesting as, you know, we've been used to the modern Doctor Who being up to this point, or even a lot of the classic series of Doctor Who. Like, this really has gone back to roots. And I mean, it has had its pros. You know, an episode like Rosa, I don't think really would have worked in the Stephen Moffat era. But at the same time, it's left the episodes which would have fit perfectly in like these previous eras, and is just it's taken half the excitement out of it when a considerable bigger chunk of the episode is spent just talking.
Mm.
I guess that's my thoughts on that. I don't know
Yeah.
if you had anything different.
I would. I think maybe that's it. Because I was thinking recently, when I think back to the Moffat era, I can think of lots of great action scenes. Great, you know,
Yeah.
running about, but like really dramatic with the music blaring, you know. It was adding tension on top, you know, like the Doctor fighting the silence with River Song, you know, the Pandorica opens, big dramatic scenes, you know,
And yeah, same with the Russell T Davies, even going back
even
than
further
that.
back, you know, yeah. Fires of Pompeii, like, you know, we've not had anything really big yet. I'd say
No.
nothing, and so far no great aliens either, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is they've tried to make it very grounded.
It's a little too
No.
grounded for a science fiction, is it?
Yeah, exactly. It feels. It really feels like they're trying to go for a realism in a series about flying around space in a blue box, going through time and space.
I I know
I mean, I know that it can't take itself seriously, but
there's a sense of too seriousness though, because it's like so. I think like Doctor Who's always been a political show. I'm not going to say like, oh, get politics out of Doctor Who. But I think it's
yeah,
becoming. This is a very high concentrated level, and or there's just it's lots of really deep morals, and I don't know. It's like Ghost Monument was a bit about families and so on and all that, and then Rosa was racism, and Arachnids in the UK was about tyrannical, future presidents and Donald Trump, and it was
again,
very on the nose.
yeah.
And this week was a bit more, I don't know, but I just didn't find this week that
I think.
fun. I don't know.
Uh,
It's something about it. Like this episode, just I realised like I'm not having fun.
hmm. I found that last week. I didn't so much this week. I think it did enough to keep itself engaging for me. But you know, I can understand if you don't. I just, for me, I
Yeah.
found it interesting. But I think the whole thing about it, its morals and whatnot. Again, going back to the roots of the show, Sidney Newman envisioned it as more of an educational show than anything else, and there was, in his original vision.
That's fine. Rosa was
more
great.
morals.
Rosa was great. Like
Yeah.
hands down, that works. But the issue is then did Arachnids in the UK really need to be a eco anti-Trump episode? Like so on the nose. Like they
Yeah.
even mentioned Trump's name. Like
Absolutely.
did it need to be that? No.
No.
It could have just been
No.
an eco one. It didn't need to
No,
be.
that was a step too far, really. I think in terms of like I said, it does, even mentioning Trump doesn't make sense in the context of Doctor Who when they already have this weird presidential order. So just to bring him in just for the sake of Trump is bad. It's
I don't want
wasn't-
US
it's not needed in this
politics
show.
in my. I don't mind.
In our British
I don't
show.
mind British politics in my British show. I don't want your USA.
Exactly. It's like Doctor Who's biggest audience is in the UK.
I expect the
so-
finale to be all about Brexit at this point.
Oh goodness, no, please no, please don't.
Theresa May is the villain, dancing queen, or dance queen, because
It'd be the Doctor,
Pating and
Doctor-
dance queen.
Doctor versus UKIP.
Right.
The Doctor punching Nigel Farage in the face.
It's like, well, we already know Witchfinders is going to be like an anti-women, like witch one. And it's just like, I don't know. I just want a fun episode. Like, I think that's what's missing. I'm just waiting for that.
It can't just be a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah, it's like it's like World Enough and Time. It didn't have this big thing, It was just science fiction.
It's just a wonderful story. It's just a solid,
Or like
From bi-
The Girl Who Died. That was just fun, with the Maya. Time Heist. Really fun.
yeah, just create good stories. You don't. I guess that's probably. Yeah. No.
Like they're good. It's difficult.
I mean, I think we-
because I don't want to be like I'm sounding negative because it's been a really good good drama, but is it good science fiction? Like yes, there's
Yeah.
science in there, but sci-fi usually has really great alien designs, and like if if
I think.
like the original
Yeah.
series, it's hard to like compare the two because it was such different times. Like it was like a live performance. You couldn't have all these amazing action set pieces, but this is.
It basically was a live
It was.
performance. There was no retakes.
There was
basically
so few, like
very little
3
retakes.
cuts, I think they could make or something per episode.
So yeah, hence why Hartnell's soft lines and whatnot.
But it's that's why the storytelling was so good though, and they had longer time. You know, they had 50. It was like a full part was a film. You know, it was a length of a feature film. But the issue is we've got 50 minutes, and with 3 companions and trying to make them really deep and developed is fine. But if you don't put them in fun situations where we're going to support them, because the thing is at the moment they're just trying to make us support them through by what they say, not their actions.
Well,
like I know Yaz kicking the pating in the rug was supposed to be this great powerful moment for the character. I was like, great, she kicked a rug.
Yeah, basically.
I don't care. I don't care about her yet because the difference is it's like when Rose saves the day, she does it by doing an action which makes you go, oh wow, you know, she earned it, so on. And Rose does things to save the day, but so far, have any of the side characters actually done anything which puts them ultimately in danger? To save them? Well, yeah, Grace, and she died, and that's about it.
And Graham got the spider.
But, like, that was a spider big enough, like... It's
then they were chased down the hallway by them.
Oh, wow. They ran away.
From spiders.
Like,
I'm kind of reaching here.
Can you see, like, there's none of that moment where they've really kind of shown themselves... Instead of, they're talking about, I'm a deep emotional person. I have lots of complex issues. Don't show, don't tell. It's a thing, in script writing. You show it. Yeah. I don't. We got that Ryan has dad issues. We got it in episode 1. He wasn't there, and then we got a bit in Arachnids in the UK. Did we need it this week as well? No, we did not. All we needed was Ryan being like, just be there for your son. That's just one line. But it was probably about 15 lines of Ryan's dedicated towards dad and mum and family. It's like, we don't need to know that the mum died when he was 13. We got that. We knew she was dead. Like, just adding that extra bit of detail doesn't make me care about it anymore. Like,
yeah,
I want to see these characters save the day. And that's why I want to support them. But so far, it's been the Doctor saving the day so far. Every single time.
I agree very much so. I think I know, in terms of the dialogue thing, I think I mentioned it actually even, right at the start of the series. Like, about them being a bit too talky and not... Some of these things could have not, weren't needed. That criticisms, I haven't said it quite as much throughout. Because I don't think it's been quite as much of an issue as it had been there. But I do very much agree, though, in this episode that, like, you didn't need some of these things being spelt out for you. Like, it's enough just to know that something happened. And, what... Yeah, as you said, show don't tell. What how it's affecting them or what they're thinking about, to some extent, should just be shown on their face. Should just be shown through the actions that they do. You don't need so much exposition dialogue. It has, I agree. It has really quite become. Yeah, that's what I was saying about the whole thing about it being generally just too talky. But I agree, especially with the companion side of things. A lot of it is unneeded, really. You can cut a lot of that, and it's just not a whole lot would change. The episode wouldn't change that much.
I just feel that Yaz is kind of a
useless
character.
She does nothing. He hasn't done anything this entire series of any worth. Like, she's just there.
The only thing was like her family in the last one, but it didn't make sense because I thought in the Ghost Monument she said she didn't like her family. Now suddenly she was, having dinner.
They
and
annoy her apparently.
Oh wow, character trait.
Yeah, I know, right?
And they just show them annoying her
Well,
and her running away from them. Like,
I think the way they're gonna go with this is just because they showed them as nice people. It's just, you know, eventually she's just gonna get to the point where she's like, oh, I've taken them for granted, and she's just gonna go back.
I think if anyone should leave this season, it should be Az. I just think she's just the least developed. There's nothing.
Or they develop her properly and Graham and Ryan leave.
Yeah.
Either way, you know, just
one of them has to go. Or, you know, something has to change.
Because that's ultimately the point where they get to, in all these cases. The William Hartnell era starts with, like, 3 companions, and then they drop one, and then they spend most of it with 2 in the rest of the series. You know, the Peter Davison era, they start with 3, they kill off Adric, you know, and they continue more or less with 2 throughout the rest of the, you know, different ones, but, you know, they usually start trying with 3, realise it doesn't work, and then go back to having 2. That's usually the way this goes. And, you know, clearly by doing it this season, this shown they have learned nothing from all those previous missteps. And, you know, the consequences of it have been showing in what's been happening with Yaz. So, it's the exact same issues. It's happened twice before, and they learned nothing.
Yeah. I don't know. There's something needs to better aliens. I think is one key point.
Well, the designs, I mean, for the most part, are cool. Like I said, I know you had issued the design of this week's episode. Yeah, but you know, I felt for a creature that would go around sabotaging and eating bits of shit, its design fits what it's trying to do for the episode.
That's fine. You know, but then we haven't had anything before this either. Like, this is our, like, first proper alien since the Tim Shaw.
Exactly.
Because the spiders were just spiders.
Yeah. I mean, Tim Shaw,
It was a great design, but we've had nothing inspiring since.
Absolutely, yeah, not particularly.
And it's just, I'm sorry, I don't care about new I I'd prefer you bring back old great designs which were memorable and would make me go, oh, I want to see them again. That's the issue. I think you should always have at least one returning villain in the series. I think there should always be one.
I mean, I think you can always come in with new interesting designs and new interesting monsters. I don't think, you know, resting on your laurels and having, you know, focused a lot on the old monsters is necessarily a good thing either. You know, and that has been a bit of a problem sometimes, is that, you know, I think that's somewhat of a problem during the Moffat era as well. You know, they relied a lot on returning monsters.
There's too much
compared to, but you know, one episode with them wouldn't necessarily hurt, would it? And I mean, you know, I mean, I think we'll see that. You know, we will see returning monsters in series to come. I'm pretty darn sure of it. Probably with a considerable redesign and whatnot. I guess a lot of the over-the-top designs, I guess, just don't fit what they're trying to go with for this season. As we said, it's much more of a grounded, you know, series, and a lot of the old monsters are, well, they're out there, you know. So I guess that's kind of the thought behind it. Plus the fact that this is really meant to be a soft reboot, as I mentioned in the previous week. So, you know, it's just, you know, bringing everything back to basics, you know, and just trying to not focus on any past elements, not really bring up the past series aside from the odd reference here and there. You know, it's completely just cut itself off from everything else. Hopefully only for this series, just to, you know, set up everything and then maybe bring back returning monsters in the next few series. But, you know, I think it's okay to do this for one series. I think it's okay to avoid, you know, the old monsters for one series.
Is, as we mentioned in our last news from Matrix, but what happens if there's a massive gap?
Because the
issue is I'm not looking forward to next week because I know it's going to be enough heavy dialogue thing, and it's going to be some about the. I'm just really yearning for a fun episode with as little political influence as possible. Every piece of art is political, but just as little as in your face. You know, just I just want a fun, like the Sontaran stratagem, like something like that. Just
Well, that was
unicorn and the
commentary on
wasp,
like that was commentary on over reliance in technology in
technology and
itself.
cars, but that's different to like human behavior. Like human actions, like everyone's reliant, and that's not really like something which humans have chosen to do, which created a war or there's no like discrimination with technology. It's just
No,
technology and people
although
over.
that episode in some ways is actually very relevant in that I guess the Atmos guy could represent like any head of like
Yeah, but it wasn't
like
so
an
in your
Elon
face.
Musk
They
or a
didn't.
Mark
Yeah, but they didn't.
Zuckerberg.
They didn't name drop either of them. He was just
No, because
genius.
they weren't. Well, Mark Zuckerberg was, but certainly not Elon Musk. Wasn't really much of anything at that point. But I mean, in a weird way, that episode is more relevant now than it was at the time. Really, in a fun way. That'd be an interesting episode to talk about, actually, because
It's just. I just don't. I'm not looking forward to next week because I just know it's going to be the same thing. That's the issue. They bigged up the series as every week's going to be a different adventure, but at the moment it just feels like the same thing. The Doctor
yeah,
does all the solving. Ryan and Graham bond. Yaz does nothing, and there's kind of an uninspired alien design.
yeah, they have been very similar in terms of quite a few things, haven't they? Really.
And people go, oh, well, of course the Doctor's to save the day. It's Doctor Who. Well, go back and look at most of Russell T. And look at all the time fucking Rose saves the day.
Well, heck, even in the classic series, the Doctor wasn't always the one to solve the issue,
Yeah.
or completely resolve the issue. Heck, even as early back as like the Daleks, like a lot of that
Ian and
was the
Barbara,
Foals.
really.
Well, Ian and Barbara, the Foals,
Yeah.
the Doctor only advises in those original series more or less, because of course he's not physical, he's not so yeah. I
I think
mean,
the issue is like, just episodes 4 and 5 have just been kind of a 6 or below to me.
they're simultaneously trying to be old Doctor Who, but also trying to be fit into the mold that the new series has done. And quite frankly, I'm not sure it's quite compatible. You either go whole hog old series or whole hog new series. This kind of in between hasn't entirely worked. Now, as I said, I enjoyed this episode enough. Not that it doesn't have problems, but I enjoyed it.
Are you looking forward to next week, though?
Nah,
That's all I needed. That's all I needed.
that's true, yeah.
If the
But in
reaction
fair,
is meh, then
yeah, no, I agree. To some, I mean, I'd say also, that's kind of been me. I guess with the exception between the first and second episode, throughout the entirety of the series, even before it, like I wasn't quite so excited to jump into it as much. And then, when we get there, I'm like, from Woman Who Fell to Earth to Rosa, and then from Rosa, I was looking forward to that. And then it just, it's sort of not been quite as much of a, I need to get home and watch Doctor Who kind of feeling.
Yeah.
But more, I gotta go home and watch Doctor Who because I gotta talk about it kind of thing.
yeah. Oh, I'm excited for these guest writers, but I'm just not excited for next week. I don't know. It's just there's something in the formula that's not quite right. It's almost there, but
Yeah.
it's that big action. It's like the main problem with the Ghost Monument, which is like it's a race, but it didn't feel like a race. There was no urgency. They couldn't. There was no chance that they could, betray each other. There was no risk there. It was, and it was obvious that they were both going to win it. Like, they were going to share the main prize, whatever.
Yeah.
But then Rosa was great. Like I was like, okay, it's picked up. But then Arachnids in the UK and the Saranga Conundrum had just been kind of just subpar, I guess, like 5s or 6s out of 10. Like they haven't been bad, but they just haven't been
No.
good either. And that's the issue when you sit in the middle for too long, you become bland. And that's the issue. I feel like next week's one is gonna land in the middle, and that's the issue when your expectations are low and you're not expecting much from it, or you're expecting not to enjoy it as much. It means that you'll probably come out of it not to have enjoyed it as much. I'm gonna have to try and work quite hard to come in with an open mind. Like, I'm excited for the Witchfinders. I love, Charles the First, historical, awesome.
Yeah.
But then I'm worried they're not actually going to have these big, cool, dramatic witch moments where the Doctor's getting like dunked in a lake for being a witch or something, and it's just going to be all talking about, you can't just treat women differently.
We won't get Mask of Jarga moments where he's like riding away, where she's like riding away on horses and whatnot, or maybe not engaging in cool sword fights. Although we'll see about that.
I would love that. There just needs to be something like that.
Just needs something like that, yeah. Like if you are gonna go with something a bit slower, a bit less, focused on the modern stuff, that's fine. But I don't think looking back to the William Hartnell era is the way to go. Like they're very
even those had fight scenes though and sword fights.
Yeah,
I mean, the Aztecs.
I mean, all over they had like fight moments or dramatic moments or whatnot. I mean, of course there are exceptions for very slow stories that still end up working one way or another. But it just, and I hate to say it, but with the whole thing with Christian being spread as thin as he is, the whole thing about them being, in the original series they had different writers on basically every episode. That was important because you got a lot of variety, a lot of different styles for different historical time periods, and you could make a story as long as the Daleks, something great, something that had a lot of dialogue, that had a lot of slower moments, but it all ended up working because they had a talented writer with a great vision to it.
A great team.
Yeah, great production team. Great sets, a creative and different monster, and there wasn't so many massive moments, but the moments which they did have really, really stand out. Like the moments when the Foals go into a trap and get massacred by the Daleks, or the time where Ian loses the ability of his legs, or when they get into the Daleks. There are so many. Even when it's as slow as an episode as the and as long as an episode as the Daleks, you make moments stand out. You make And there hasn't been that. There hasn't been a Foals getting tricked by the Daleks moment in this series as of yet, as far as I can think of. There isn't that big moment, in an episode which just makes you, it just changes the tide of everything, or really sticks in your head as much.
I feel it's just been very copy paste, like for the same story beats.
Yeah.
Has the Doctor developed much? I wouldn't.
Yeah, I guess from the first episode to some extent.
The first episode they always change a bit, but since episode 2, I wouldn't say too much.
Yeah.
But then it's the same. It's Ryan and Graham Bond, and and Yaz does nothing. I mean, it's just that. Where's the fun? I think that's the issue.
Again, I think the same structure is inherently the issue of having the same writer on. I really hope that now that they've got guest writers for every episode that we get some variety to it, because I don't think having the same writer for every episode is a good thing at all. I think, the Moffat era suffered because of it. Russell T Davies had quite a bit of variety, even though Russell T wrote he had his share of stories per series, but he didn't dwarf it. He didn't write majority in the 12 series, I don't think, as far as I can remember. So, and the classic series, if that's what you're trying to emulate, always had different there wasn't really many series where you'd have the same writers writing multiple episodes in it, like, ever.
It's like... It's just the fun. It's like all the fun moments are trying to be through dialogue instead of actually showing something fun on screen.
Yeah.
like, for example, like Donna and the Doctor having that conversation through the windows in Partners in Crime. That kind of fun, you know?
Yeah.
Or Unicorn and the
Well,
Wasp, where they're chasing the wasp and running around quickly and shouting, and it's
you
they're
you can
solving.
have deeper. Oh, sorry. Keep
It's
going.
just
Sorry. I
well,
didn't mean to-
every episode doesn't have to have this deepness to it,
I
and
mean,
that's the thing.
I,
Like Arachnids in the UK was supposed to be the not deep episode, but it was because they just slapped bang the Trump is evil in like everyone's face. Like this, how did you vote? It's like yeah. It happened like yeah, it's been a few years now since the vote. Like come on, like it's awful and everything. But it's not the political things I really want to talk about. I think there's far better political subjects that could be talked about, like the fact that we're damaging our planet, and
far better political shows. I think Doctor Who isn't necessarily the place to do all this. I don't think entirely. I mean, it can, and it has done. I mean, there are good political stuff. Again, there are always political stuff to some extent. Although, that was only really a big thing during the third Doctor era. And you notice there how a lot of those stories don't actually have as nearly as much as like on the nose as it is currently now. A lot of those issues were, using. I mean, I know we kind of went a bit back and forth with this before, but yeah, I like it when Doctor Who does use its position and use its, its uniqueness to send these messages, So, it's not,
it does it in a unique way though. It doesn't do it on the nose. It doesn't go, this is a problem, and this needs to change.
Go into the modern series, the Zygon Inversion Invasion. I think we praised the story several times. Like that's perfect for that. Like that, it talks about extremism in groups, and it does it in such a great way. But it doesn't. It's not so on the nose. I mean, you get it. You get what it's trying to say about the whole Zygon thing. But it does it. It just does it right. It just doesn't feel like it's pandering.
Yeah.
I guess is the thing about it.
Yeah.
I mean, this season hasn't. It's yes and no, but I mean, it's kind of. I mean, it's been mostly tasteful, and as I said, Rosa's still a great, one, and the message usually, racism is bad. Most everyone can get behind that. I mean, it's an important topic, and they do it in a very tasteful way.
Yeah.
But not all these stories needed. Again, the whole Trump thing last week was just way too much. It just really wasn't needed. Like
it just needed to be a
I don't think
one.
Doctor Who doesn't need like current political like Doctor Who works better when it's a general. Rose was fine because that was a general message that's very much
universally
prevalent to this day in culture. Trump is not going to be relevant necessarily in 10 plus years. I mean, you don't know the future, but at the same time,
I might disagree, but like I know what you mean.
You get what I mean.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
You watch a third Doctor episode, and while a lot of those issues are still very prevalent to the time, and a lot of things have changed. Some of them and a lot of the messages in them you can still get now, and like it's still to some degree relevant. There are some very relevant things even from back then. So, yeah, as I said, like, watching in another, maybe not 10 years, maybe watching in another 30 years, nobody's going to care, like, when they... I just think having it that specific really... Yeah, it just kind of ruins it. Doctor Who should be timeless, I feel, to some extent. Relevant to a time period, and not necessarily holding back from topics relevant to it, but still having a degree of timelessness to it.
Yeah.
It's a whimsical, it's a sci-fi show, it's a...
Don't overground it.
Yeah, it's a... Again, it's a sci-fi show about a two-hearted alien traveling around in the blue old telephone box, meeting
historical figures.
pepper pots with long eye stalks, and
I know.
It's ridiculous. It's silly.
The thing
you can't take it fully seriously. You got to always keep a sense of this is ridiculous.
It's like, imagine. I'd love a modern readaptation of The Mind Robber. Like, something like that was so cool. Unique and different. I love that story.
To some extent, although I still,
I think I gave it a 10 in our review. But
I think you did. But at the same time, I also should say that I don't think stories necessarily should be, kind of. I mean, that episode's special, but would it be special as much if there were two of them? I guess.
But what I mean is, ideas like that need to be done.
Ideas like it, yeah, I get it.
Really unique and different. I don't care. You don't always. It doesn't always have to be grounded. I think that's the thing. This has gone too far. So Moffat had too complicated. This is too grounded. I think the issue is the Russell T kind of got it kind of perfectly on the head. It's anything that's come after it's kind of struggling.
I mean, admittedly, one thing I'd say about that is that if it continued on the exact same formula up to the modern day, then it'd probably be very stale. But at the same time, you can make tweaks, you can change things up, and I mean, still. I mean, just tonal change in the show doesn't mean you necessarily have to, I guess, completely wipe the formula, I guess. It felt, what this series has kind of felt very much like it's just changing a lot of things. And I think I said this about the whole Christmas special and whatnot. It's been changing a lot of things for the sake of changing a lot of things, just to be its own thing. And I mean, to some degree I get it, and to some degree it's been working. But to another degree, as a long-time fan, it's just so alienating. And it didn't even feel like that in the first episode, because that did still, to some degree, feel like a Doctor Who episode. But as the series has gone on, it's just felt less and less, in some ways, like the show I grew up with, I guess, in a weird way. I mean, it's supposed to not.
Well, I mean,
at the same time,
Moffat talked about that mid-series dip, didn't he? And that's why he did the 3-parter last season with the monks. And I think I'm in that. I've definitely fallen in this mid-series dip, and I'm worried that the Demons of Punjab isn't gonna get me out of this dip. And
it's not looking particularly thrilling, is it?
It's just enough of family. It's just. Doctor Who's not a soap.
Well, Russell T tried to make it a bit of a soap.
That was a fun soap, though. It was fun. Like, Rose's mum getting angry. She was a funny character. Yeah. The only thing funny about Yaz's mum was that she was asking if Yaz was dating every character. That was the only kind of trait that I can remember. She got fired. She's a bit sassy, and she's very over interested in Yaz's relationship life. And Yaz's sister hit on Ryan.
Yeah.
It's like just surface level on the things which they should be developing, and too developed too quickly. And that's the issue when you have fewer episodes, it gives us less time.
I wouldn't entirely agree with the point that Russell T entirely worked with the soap thing. I think it went too far in the sappy direction, especially like when we get to Doomsday. That was emotional at the time, but looking back on it, that was just.
I think it made sense.
This is borderline Twilight stuff.
I think it made sense for Rose, but it was when Martha was infatuated to get a bit like, we've already had this.
Yeah, which is why Donna was such a refreshing break in this entire thing,
Yeah, which is why they did it. See, they listened. So I don't know. I'm just hoping that they learn from the mistakes this season by making it too charactery. So I think the issue is Chibnall stuck to what is known, which was Broadchurch, and kind of.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the charactering was necessarily the issue. The problem is that too much of the dialogue. The characters, I liked some of the directions they're going with some of the characters, particularly in terms of Graham and Ryan. Although it's kind of stagnated now,
Yeah.
they haven't really progressed with that. Again, I think some of that would be better with more action than necessarily through more dialogue.
Yeah.
Because they just talk about their issues. They just spend all their time talking about their issues. Do something. Do anything.
The thing is, when they do anything, it's just them talking again.
Yes,
like
exactly.
Ryan today talking to the dad who was giving birth. Like, it's still just talking. Yeah. I don't know. Okay,
Yeah.
so because we've kind of done our halfway through series analysis that we said we were going to do last week.
You just kind of kept going. I noticed the time, and it's just
Yeah, so we'll just wrap it up. So if you just want to kind of say what you think so far, just kind of in about a couple of sentences, what you think so far about the series and what you hope for the rest of the series.
If you've even managed to get this far in the video,
Yeah.
say hi if you have.
No.
We appreciate you.
What would you sum up though in a couple of sentences? What you think of the series? Yeah. If you sum it up in like a couple of sentences. So far.
The groundedness works when it's... Well, actually, yeah, that's kind of it. The groundedness works when it's on Earth and it's trying to be, somewhat of a... Well, when it tries to be an Earth drama, it works. When it tries to be a sci-fi, it fails. I guess Arachnids was, of course, in London, but... Well, no.
Sheffield.
No, that doesn't work either. Sorry. Let me try that again. Okay, so... It's actually very difficult, really, because, as you say, like, they're all kind of made of the same mould. And the difference, technically, between Rosa and the ones which we thought are Mare, actually, in terms of how it's structured, is not all that different. That's tricky, actually. I don't know if I could sum it up in a few sentences, actually.
I think what I'd say is it started off strong, kind of introducing the characters and everything, but then when it had to make its stance on sci-fi stories, it fell flat with the Ghost Monument.
Yeah.
So that was worrying. But then Rosa picked it up, but then that was a historical character piece, which is what they're strong at.
With mild sci-fi elements.
With mild sci-fi. But then the issue is Arachnids in the UK should have been more sci-fi, yet became a character piece. And in this one, a space sci-fi.
It was just Arachnids in Space was just trash Green Death. I wasn't even that fond of the Green Death to begin with.
So yeah, I think
literally trash Green Death. Actually,
I just hope that it picks up. I hope the guest writers bring something new. I want to be excited for next week, but at the moment I'm just not. I just know this is going to be the time where they decide to develop Yaz, when this probably should have been episode 4.
Or they just don't bother at all.
Or they just don't bother.
That's just kind of what it feels like.
But we're halfway through the season now, and I know I'm kind of feeling a general mehness. I think we've had 2 good episodes, and 2 meh, and 1 not great.
Which is, again, just a shame coming off the last series.
And that's the issue when you have less episodes, because you've only got 10. Say we had, if we had 13, we'd still have 8 left. That's not too bad.
Although
5 left.
Potentially we'd get even more Chibnall scripts, and that could,
I think they would have
even stretch itself even further thin.
Well, yeah. But anyway.
They just need more guest writers. I mean, that's just the thing. Rosa worked because it's been the best story, and it had a guest writer.
Yeah.
Like, that I think that just says it all. Women Who Fell to Earth worked because it's probably had the most development time on it because it was the first episode. All the other episodes have not done nearly as well. they've all been just Chibnall stories. I mean,
Mm.
you know, it just about says it all, really. That, you know, he just spread himself too thin. Like, that was the issue with the Moffat era, and we haven't learned anything there either.
Yeah. Well, anyway, what do you guys think? Comment below. We got to stop because it's gonna take me fucking ages to render.
Come, we need to get to hour 20. Come on, get to hour 20.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Nearly there.
But comment below what you thought, and comment below what you think about the series so far. So we sound quite negative. Over the weeks we've been kind of positive, but maybe it's just this kind of the last 2 weeks being so average has kind of lowered our. I think we were expecting something more, and we haven't been fulfilled it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing that it's Jodie and it's female doctor. I'm fine with that. I think she's good, but
yeah, no. I mean, we haven't mentioned that at all. That aspect at all in like basically any of our discussions. Really, I mean, it's just such a. It's not. That's really not the issue. Jodie's been great, and like I said. The personality, while still very similar to David Tennant, I'm more than okay with that because I enjoyed David Tennant, so yeah, I don't have an issue there, But yeah, that's really not the issue here. There's a lot of other things which are the issue here. So,
but we'll see. So we'll carry on these first thoughts for the rest of the series, and then we'll have an overall series, kind of what we think.
Look back. Did we do that for the last series?
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. I guess we kind of.
I guess we probably.
But
yeah, we probably said something in the last review, probably.
I think probably. But yeah, so thank you very much for listening.
But if we didn't, that series was great.
Yeah, but thank you very much for listening. If you got this far, well done. Like, that's incredible, and that means a lot that you managed to get this far. I doubt it though.
You get a reward. It's
knowledge.
Knowledge.
So thank you very much for listening.
Appreciate it.
We'll see you next week for the Demons of Punjab. Oh boy. See you next time. Bye.